everybody, you and I, we are recalling reports and recollections from the WWE universe in the rhetoric of alphabetical order. My name is Tom Campbell, and this is the letter R on the A to Z of WWE. R is for The Rock, the jabroni-beaten, pie-eating, trailblazing, eyebrow-raising, heart-stopping, elbow-dropping people's champ. Wasn't always the jabroni-beaten, pie-eating, trailblazing, eyebrow-raising, heart-stopping, elbow-dropping people's champ that we know and love today. He joined the WWF rather innocuously as the blue chipper Rocky Maivia in 1996, making his debut at SummerSlam, a third-generation superstar with a whole lot of promise, but not a lot of love from the fans. The fans didn't really take to Rocky Maivia. He disappeared and then came back, joining the Nation of Domination, and something weird happened. The more of an arsehole he became, the more we loved him. Becoming The Rock, he would eventually lose the Nation of Domination and become the People's Champion. And he would say thank you to the people that got him into the main event in 1998 by turning his back on the people and joining the corporation. Rock's star power was undeniable in 1999, and he became the company's top star. In the absence of Stone Cold Steve Austin throughout most of 2000, The Rock became a household name, not just as a result of pro wrestling, but as a result of taking over entertainment in general. A TV star, a movie star. He released a song with Wyclef Jean. Look that up, it's an interesting one. Despite a few returns over the years, The Rock's time as a full-timer is now very much done. He's got a lot going on in Hollywood as of now, but you know it's going to be a good time on WWE television when we know Dwayne The Rock Johnson is coming to trailblaze, eyebrow raise, heart stop, and elbow drop. He'll probably beat some jabronis and eat some pie as well. The Rock became a star on this next R, Raw, that kicked off in 1993 from the Manhattan Center's Grand Ballroom in New York City. This was a very different kind of show for the WWF. It wasn't weeks worth of tapings being played on a delay. This was an as-it-happened live production of wrestling in a very intimate venue. It felt fresh, it felt different, it felt raw. Of course, it wasn't viable for WWF at this point to run live wrestling shows every single week on television. So they'd normally do a live one, then a couple of weeks of taped shows, then another live one, then a couple of weeks of taped shows, rinse, repeat. Raw eventually became a 2-hour production and was split into two very distinct hours. You had Raw is War, and then a more adult-orientated Warzone show where a lot more of the edgy stuff would happen. Over the years, Raw has gone from ballrooms to arenas, from 2 hours to 3 hours, and it remains as very much the flagship program of WWE. Quite a few stars were made on Monday nights, including this next R, Rikishi. Now, you may remember this face. He was Fatu from the Head Shrinkers. He was also Make a Difference Fatu. He was also the Sultan. That was strange, but he really struck gold, did Salofa Fatu, when he stumbled across the Rikishi persona. This big old chap who would come out to the ring wearing a thong, and his finisher was putting his bum in the face of his opponent. It's the Attitude Era. It's a weird time to explain to non-wrestling fans. Rikishi hooked up with Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay, and Too Cool were a massive part of WWF programming throughout the year 2000. It even led Rikishi to his first singles belt with the Intercontinental Championship, and a monumental moment at Fully Loaded 2000 when he jumped off the top of a steel cage. Rikishi would turn his back on the fans and do it for The Rock when he was revealed as the man who tried to mow down Stone Cold Steve Austin at Survivor Series 1999. The bad man Rikishi didn't really touch the sides the same way that the cool dancing Rikishi did. And it was sort of after this that we saw Rikishi make a bit of a disappearance from the top of the card. He would return on the odd occasion, and still does on the odd occasion. In fact, last time we saw him, he was being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and he's even busted out a couple of moves with his sons, the Usos, who we'll talk about a bit later on. R is also for ruthless aggression. It's a weird time, 2002, for WWE, kind of post-Attitude Era, post-WCW Monday Night Wars. They were sort of trying to find their feet again as a company with suddenly not a whole lot of competition. So they created competition in themselves, splitting Raw and SmackDown into two very distinct brands. Vince McMahon called the Monday Night Raw roster to the ring one night and told them that he wanted to find that inner fire in all of them. He wanted to know who had what it took to really make it in WWE. And that one catalyst that he needed to see from his WWE stars was the same catalyst that made him become a multi-millionaire and took WWE to new heights. And that catalyst was ruthless aggression. It wasn't all about sex and violence like the Attitude Era was. It wasn't even about the fresh new talent in the same way that the New Generation Era was. It wasn't about the old boys in the same way the Golden Era was. It was kind of a mix of everything. If anything, it was a time in wrestling where we saw really good wrestling matches happening. Like, we would see performers like Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar and John Cena rise to prominence. We would see on SmackDown guys like Edge, Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, who were considered smaller guys, but because of this ruthless aggression, we would see them push to the very top. The ruthless aggression era is an interesting one to look back on because it's sort of that halfway point between the Attitude Era and where we're at now, kind of. But it wasn't all great. It was during the ruthless aggression era we would see what was known as the reign of terror of Triple H, where he was the World Heavyweight Champion for a long time and wasn't particularly interesting with it either. It was also here we would see the Katie Vick storyline play out. Don't want to talk about that, thank you. My mother might watch this. And it was where we saw HLA on Monday Night Raw as well. And again, not a great family-friendly product, that. There's one group that would have made sure that HLA wouldn't have happened, and that would have been our next R, the right to censor. The Parents Television Council and WWF banged heads around late 99, early 2000, when the Parents Television Council took it upon themselves to inform the major sponsors of WWF that, hey, this is a pretty nasty product. There's swearing and violence and nudity. You shouldn't be associated with this. Vince McMahon, in the way that only Vince McMahon truly does, took it to a whole other level and in a fit of pettiness made an entire faction based on his dealings with the PTC, labeling them the RTC, the right to censor. RTC was led up by Steven Richards. He recruited Bull Buchanan. He converted the Godfather from his pimping ways, making him the good father. He even stopped Val Venus from being a porn star and made him a very good boy in a lovely white shirt. Also, Ivory came in to bring some quality, class and distinction to the women's division as well. The RTC became a major faction on WWF television sort of late 2000. Whenever you would hear those sirens going off in the arena, oh, not only would it make your skin crawl, but you knew a lot of white shirts were coming to ruin the party. Right to Censor disbanded shortly after WrestleMania 17. They were battered by the APA and Taz in six-man tag team action. Also that night, Ivory lost the women's championship to China, so the guys kind of sort of ran their purpose and they all went off to go and do other things. Godfather became a pimp again, Val Venus became a porn star again, and Stevie Richards just carried on hanging around. 3, 2, 1. That sound could only mean our next R, the Royal Rumble. Pat Patterson had the idea of staggering a battle royal. Instead of all 30 guys being in the ring at the beginning, why don't they come out in timed intervals? Thus, the Royal Rumble was born. The first one was won by Hacksaw Jim Duggan in 1988, and it would go on to become a major part of WWF's calendar. Many consider it now as the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. You know, when the Royal Rumble comes around, that's when you know that WrestleMania is just a couple of months away. The winner of the most Royal Rumbles is Stone Cold Steve Austin, 1997, 1998, and 2001. He won the whole darn thing. The biggest Royal Rumble consisted of 40 men. 2010 and was won by Alberto Del Rio. There was also the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia that was won by Braun Strowman. He got a lovely championship belt that he's yet to defend as well. Now we have a women's Royal Rumble match as well. Asuka winning the first one and Becky Lynch winning the second. Now, come January, we have two chances to enjoy the suspense, the intrigue, and the phenomena that is the Royal Rumble. Let's take a look at a few Royal Rumble winners, shall we? This next R is Rey Mysterio, who burst into the WWE in 2002 as part of SmackDown. His first proper WWE pay-per-view match against Kurt Angle was a great sign of things to come. At this point, Rey has had a legendary career in Mexico and has made himself a household name as part of WCW. He even lost his mask in WCW, but we're not mentioning that. He's put the mask back on for his WWE days. Mysterio became the go-to performer for quality level matches in WWE, and in 2006 he won the Royal Rumble and went on to become the world champion at WrestleMania, doing it in memory of the late Eddie Guerrero. Rey Mysterio has been to the top of the mountain a couple of times now, proving that it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, the size of the fight in the dog. WWE have been looking for a Mexican superstar to replace Rey Mysterio, should Mysterio and when Mysterio decides to call it a day. They've tried this with guys like Sin Cara and Alberto Del Rio, to mixed results so far. It looks like that torch could very well be passed to Rey Mysterio's son, Dominic, who has recently trademarked the name Prince Mysterio. Another R that has won the Rumble is the big dog, Roman Reigns. Leati Joanna Waihi arrived in WWE in 2010, reporting to Florida Championship Wrestling, their performance center. And from the moment that he arrived, there was something about Joe. He debuted on WWE television alongside Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose as The Shield, a dominant force in WWE. All three members became beloved by the WWE universe before their time came to an end, but it was very clear early on that there were big plans for at least one of them. The big dog in the middle. When the group ended in 2014, Roman Reigns went on a tear. He began mixing it up with some of the biggest stars in the company. Roman Reigns ended up becoming the winner of the Royal Rumble and the winner of the WWE Championship in the process as well, defeating Triple H at WrestleMania to do it. Since the group's first breakup in 2014, Roman Reigns has gone away and done it all. US champion, Intercontinental champion, three-time WWE champion, a tag team champion, the winner of the Royal Rumble as well, and he has defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He is literally one of two people that can currently say that. Roman took some time away from WWE in 2018 after revealing that his leukemia had returned. He was in remission and he needed to step away to get his health in order. He would return a year later and has been on form ever since. Roman Reigns still remains one of the top performers in WWE today. Have we got time for one more R? Ooh yeah! As R is for Randy Savage. The Macho Man joined WWF in 1985, billed as the hottest free agent in the wrestling world. It wouldn't be long until he had Intercontinental Gold around his waist, and he took it to task in an incredible feud with Ricky Steamboat that culminated in Steamboat winning the IC title at WrestleMania 3 and gave a hell of a match to the history books as well. Savage wouldn't just go quietly into the night after losing his IC title. No. He would go on to win the big one at WrestleMania 4 and form a tandem with Hulk Hogan as the Mega Powers took over the WWF. That was until they exploded. And at WrestleMania 5, Hulk Hogan defeated Randy Savage for the WWF Championship. He would go from Macho Man to Macho King and would have scorching rivalries with the likes of Dusty Rhodes and the Ultimate Warrior and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. He would retire from the wrestling world in the early 90s and he would become a commentator for Monday Night Raw, but it just wasn't enough for Savage. He was desperate to get back into the ring, but Vince McMahon was adamant that he was now one of the all-time greats, which in Vince McMahon's words meant, you're not wrestling again, pal. So Savage went somewhere he could wrestle and left for WCW in 1994. Randy Savage would return to the company posthumously. He passed away in 2010 and was inducted into the Hall of Fame by his brother, Leaping Lanny Poffo, in 2015. Randy Savage truly was an iconic figure in wrestling. You only have to take a look at an image of Randy Savage to see that. Everything about him, from the way that he carried himself, the costumes he wore, and the way he wrestled as well, it was wrestling through and through. Woo yeah. So that's R on the A to Z of WWE. We'll be back tomorrow. Why? Because Stone Cold said so. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Cultaholic. Lastly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.